Blog Talk Radio.
And during the few moments that we have left, we want to have just an off-the-cuff chat between you and me, us. We want to talk right down to earth in a language that everybody here can easily understand.
Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum. We're on Blog Talk Radio. Assalamu alaikum. We are now listening to Muslim Radio. Muslim Radio. Muslim Radio. We're on Muslim Radio.
I'm still a Muslim. That is, my religion is still Islam.
Does your new beard have any religious significance?
No, not particularly, but I do think that you'll find black people in America, as they strive to throw off the shackles of mental colonialism, will also probably reflect an effort to throw off the shackles of cultural colonialism. And they may begin to reflect desires of their own, with standards of their own.
I think a lot of people are confused by the new Arabic name, El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz.
I've always had the name on my passport, Malik El-Shabazz, only I only used it in the Muslim world. Well, Hajj is a title that is given to any Muslim who makes the pilgrimage to Mecca during the official Hajj season.
Well, will you now use Shabazz and drop X?
I'll probably continue to use Malcolm X, and I'll probably use it as long as the situation that produced it exists.
You don't feel that Shabazz takes the place of X?
My going to Mecca and going into the Muslim world, into the African world, and being recognized and accepted as a Muslim and as a brother may solve the problem for me personally. But I personally feel that my personal problem is never solved as long as the problem is not solved for all of our people in this country. So I remain Malcolm X as long as there is a need to protest and struggle and fight against the injustices that our people are involved in this country.
Because nothing in our book, the Quran, as you call it Quran, teaches us to suffer peacefully. Our religion teaches us to be intelligent, be peaceful, be courteous, obey the law, respect everyone. But if someone puts his hand on you, send him to the cemetery. That's a good religion. In fact, that's that all-time religion. That's the one that Ma and Pa used to talk about. An eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth, and a head for a head, and a life for a life. That's a good religion. And then anybody, no one resents that kind of religion being taught but a wolf who intends to make you his meal.
I'm still a Muslim. That is, my religion is still Islam.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم تسليما الحمد لله وكفى والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, I seek refuge in Allah from the rejected shaitan. May Allah bless our master, Sayyidina Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his family, companions, and give them peace. All praises are due to Allah, for he is sufficient for us. Peace be upon his slaves, whom he has chosen. As to what follows. Assalamu alaikum. You're now listening to another episode of the Tariq Jannah show, the Path to Paradise show, with myself, Saeed, and my co-host. I'm going to bring him on, Imam Naeem Abdullah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Alhamdulillah. It's nice to have you on, brother. How are you this evening?
MashaAllah. It's good to be on. Alhamdulillah. I'm good. Alhamdulillah. How are you?
MashaAllah. Can't complain. Ramadan is around the corner. I'm excited. Alhamdulillah. Ramadan has always been a blessed time for me. MashaAllah. There's just something about it. I'm not sure about you or anyone else, but just the whole atmosphere is just different, and I enjoy basking in it. Alhamdulillah. So, inshallah, it'll be the same this year, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Today we're going to have a short show. It's not going to be long. It's not going to be all drawn out. But it is a show that we felt that needs to be mentioned. But before we get into that, if you've called in and you would like to make a comment or question, all you have to do is press the number 1. And we'll call on your area code and the first 3 digits of your telephone number. If you're listening online and would like to make a comment or question, you will need to dial. You need to actually call in at 949-272-9559. Again, 949-272-9559. And if you've missed any shows that we have broadcast, like last week, you had mentioned about when we started. It was back in 2010, I believe December. So we've been on for almost 6 years. 6 years strong, still going on, mashallah. So if you've missed any shows that we have broadcasted, you can listen to them on our website, Nurzaman Institute. You can also listen to it on iTunes. You can actually get it to download onto your Android, iPhone, iPad, whatever you got, technical device, you can get it downloaded because they all are podcasts. All our shows are podcasted. So if you missed one, you haven't missed anything. You just actually missed the live show, but you are able to listen at a later time at your convenience. Alhamdulillah. Before we get into the show, Masjid al-Mu'min, our community here in Pittsburgh, PA, will be sighting the moon on Sunday. So depending on what we see on that day, our first day of Ramadan will be Monday. If not, then it will be Tuesday, inshallah. We will have a calendar posted reflecting this, and also for those who would like to gather all those blessings for the month of Ramadan, the feeding the fasting people we are soliciting those who want to sponsor a iftar any evening of the month. You will need to contact us by emailing us at mutmanpgh@gmail.com, or you can call the masjid at 412-363-1237. Again, 412-363-1237 to make your request, and we'll let you know if that date is available. Alhamdulillah. Is there anything you want to mention before we start the show, Imam?
Alhamdulillah. I was going to mention something. Give me a second. I'm looking for something. It has to do with the iftar.
Okay.
If anybody chooses to sponsor an iftar, in other words, if they're not going to be preparing the food themselves, you can donate. Now, if you donate, you have to donate enough money for food to feed 50 people, at least 50 people.
Mm-hmm.
And the cost for that is $375 minimum. I know, sorry, we mentioned, we threw another number out there, but that number is incorrect. The number is $375 because if you want to sponsor financially an iftar, the food will be catered by Salim.
Right.
And so that's going to be the minimum price. Any more details, contact us. If you don't have $375 but still want to support an iftar, get together with some other believers so that you can come up with the $375, or just give us the money and we'll put the money together with some other money that has been donated and sponsor the iftar that way,
inshallah.
That's what I'm
And alhamdulillah. And the reason why we're emphasizing this and trying to get the opportunity to those who are interested is that it's been the tradition at Masjid al-Mu'min that we have iftar every night. There are some communities, they only do it like on the weekends, maybe 2 times a week. But at Masjid al-Mu'min, we do it every night. So there is a place here in Pittsburgh, after you fasted that long hours, you have a place to come to break your fast. And from my experience, from every year since I've been here, it's been beautiful. Being around the sisters has been beautiful. The whole experience has been beautiful, and I'm sure it's been the same for the brothers. So not only do you get to break your fast, you get to fellowship, you get to, enjoy and worship with, your fellow brothers and sisters that you don't normally do during the rest of the year. So don't take this, make this situation or, underestimate it. It's a great blessing that Allah and His mercy has bestowed upon us. We don't want to come upon a time that nobody comes to the masjid, nobody fasts. We don't want to be coming on to that situation, even though some people may try to go there, but let's keep up the tradition of that at least so that it'll build our himma up, and be excited about this beautiful deen that Allah bestowed upon us. Another thing that I did want to mention before we start, and, my little current events, is about the shooting of that animal in the Ohio Zoo. Did you hear about that? The gorilla that they shot?
Yes.
And the reason why I mentioned that, it's just, things are just so blatant that some of us are still blind to it, and some of us are just meant to be blind, and some of us, we're just fully aware of what's going on. It's sad that, what happened to the gorilla, but not so much what happened to the gorilla. It's so much as what the media has put out there and how they're handling the situation. There has been many instances where children have found themselves in precarious situations where they fell in there for whatever reason. And usually, and this is just from my observation, my little 2 cents, when they weren't black. Okay, so when it's portrayed on the news and they were not of black descent, African American, you did not hear anything other than what happened, other than the situation itself. This situation here, same thing, little boy. I didn't even watch the video because I didn't want to see them shooting the animal. But I did see pictures of the little boy in the, area where the gorilla was, and it didn't look like the gorilla was doing anything to him except doing what they know, their instinct. Anyway, why is it that the media is focusing on the parent's criminal background? Now, never, ever, ever I heard any other situation, any other time, that the parent's background, criminal background, was brought into account because of their child being, fell in such a, situation. And it's like, why is it with this situation and not the other situation? And we know why that situation is the case. It's that white supremacy. It's alive and well. It's alive and well. And when they want to vilify a certain group, oppress a certain group, they're going to take advantage of that. And here is a situation as that. Now, there's talk about, the parents wasn't paying attention and, and it's their fault, what have you. I don't know why they shot the animal, but why things that have nothing to do with it, or maybe it does have something to do with it. If you're going to do it with one group, why don't you do it with all groups? So this is a show that black people are bad parents. We have terrible parenting skills. We don't deserve to be parents, shouldn't have children anyway. A lot of this right here, it speaks volumes to me, okay? Even though they may not say it outright, but for them to do that, and I think they was focusing on the father. Now, we're in a society that the father is being, marginalized. He's put out the picture. That's the thing that's going on. You have this feminist movement. You got the other movements that's going, and they don't need men, strong black men. They don't need men in the picture for them to exist. In order for them to exist, he cannot exist. So a whole lot is being aired in regards to this. It's put into light. But we just have to be careful and be mindful when they put stuff out there and how they portray. Just look how they portray it. Like it was another instance. It had nothing to do with this instance, but it was another situation that I read. It was this dude. He was white dude. He had some kind of chemical that was burning people. It was caustic. And cops got around him, and he even threw the caustic liquid on some cops and burnt them. What happened to him? If he was black, what you think would have happened? We know what would have happened. Homeboy would have been dead. No, not in this situation. In this situation, dude got shot in the legs. That's it. So that means he was alive when they brought him in, when they subdued him. He was alive. So just look at how the media portrays what the mindset of the white supremacists thinking. It's loud and clear. It's very loud and clear. All right, to our show. Now, tonight's show, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You have something to add?
I just have two things to add with regards to that zoo situation and that gorilla getting shot.
Okay.
First, people make it a racial issue, and I think it is, but not on a level where everybody else is talking about it. But before I get to that, I was just going down my timeline on Facebook, and I read this post where somebody was making comments who used to work in the zoo and used to deal with gorillas, and she was explaining what she thought about the situation based upon the video. And I can't quote everything she said, but she basically said that tranquilizing the gorilla wouldn't have worked because the tranquilizer doesn't work right away, this gorilla weighed 600 plus pounds, and the gorilla could have drowned in that water, or the tranquilizer could have taken effect, and he could have fell on the baby. And she said those gorillas are about 10 times as strong as the average man. And she was saying that the gorilla, based upon the way he was acting, it wasn't good. She was saying that when gorillas like to show out when they feel anxious before they're about to get, as we say, get gorilla. And one of the ways they do that is to, like, in their natural environment, they would drag branches and, like, out for display. Just grab heavy things and they just drag it out for display. And she was saying that that's what the gorilla was doing to the baby. And so she also remarked that the gorilla was probably anxious because of all of the people screaming at the baby being in there. So that didn't help the situation. So Allah knows best to the truth of that anyway. I'm not no professional zookeeper or anything. I just found that interesting. But the other point that I want to mention, that which is the racial element, is that, number one, I think people are overlooking the whole issue of the concept of a zoo in and of itself. The first zoos, we didn't have animals in it. They had black people in it.
Oh, wow. SubhanAllah. That's true.
And so, this whole concept of taking animals out of their natural habitat and then rounding them up in a prison, because that's what a zoo is, a prison, and then just so people can stand around and gawk at them and look at them, that's cruel and inhumane, the concept of a zoo by itself. So I think that's the racial element that people are not looking at. And us, we tend to be a people who don't like to dig deep anyway. We content with the surface. But the whole concept of a zoo, and I'm guilty myself. I've been to zoos a couple of times, but zoos really bore me, really. But, I've been to zoos a couple of times. But the whole concept of a zoo is just the whole concept of a zoo, like you talked about white supremacy. It goes to show, listen, we've captured and we subdued these animals, and we have them on display for you here. But anyway, that's what I have to say.
SubhanAllah. Shukran for bringing that out. SubhanAllah. That's a show in itself. Anyway, let's stick with this one. MashaAllah. Tonight's show is entitled "Allah makes no mistakes." Allah makes no mistakes. And this show is intended to foster, or how can I say it, to give the listener confidence in what he or she believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is his and her thoughts about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Thing that a person, when they, come into the deen or taught, is tawheed. We're taught about Allah's oneness. We're taught about the essence of Allah. And it's important to learn that so that everything else will make sense. Everything else will make sense. Now, I wanted to mention one of Allah's attributes, one of his names. There's a hadith that explains if the believer memorizes these 99 names, there is an incentive of memorizing 99 names of Allah. Don't mistaken that Allah only have 99 names and that's all that he's, limited to. Allah has many names and attributes. This particular hadith that, the most famous one is talking about the merits in memorizing these particular 99 names of Allah. But Allah, one of those names that I wanted to mention in regards to Allah is Al-Qudus. And if you look at the meaning of that, Al-Qudus says that Allah is pure. Any imperfection. So let's take a deeper look at that. Allah is free from any imperfections. In order for Allah to be Allah, He's perfect. There's nothing wrong with Him. There is nothing that He does or says or allows should be misconstrued as a mistake. That is our limited understanding. Not He having limits, we have limits in understanding Him. We cannot encompass Allah and His greatness. We have to put Allah where He belongs, and He's not of us. Okay? Now, to have that understanding of Allah, that He's free from imperfection, that means that He is capable of being able to handle anything as far as with His creation, be able to create things, being able to fashion them, being able to put them in certain situations, to be able to know their situations, and every one of their situations, every one of His creations. Only Allah is able to do that. We're not able to do that. So when we're looking at Allah with this eye of, that's impossible, that's our limitations, not Allah's limitations. The society that we live in today wants to, dim out that light. They want to do away with Allah all the way and want to just act on their own inclinations. That's what society is trying to teach our children, and that's what they're pushing, that you don't need Allah to do what you need to do. You don't need Allah to help you in any situation. You don't need Allah to even exist. Like, they're just trying to do away with Him, and you cannot do that. It's impossible. Okay? So first, we have to have that understanding that Allah power over all things. That He has power over all things. Ala kulli shay'in qadir. He has power over all things, everything. He has power. There's nothing that can interfere with that power. There's nothing that can intervene or come between His power and what He wants to happen. You have to know Allah for what He is. When you don't have that understanding, then anybody can come to you and tell you about your Lord and how you should see Him and how you should see Him with imperfections. And that's not how you should see Him. So there's another attribute that I want us to look at. He's al-Khaliq. Al-Khaliq. And this attribute of Allah, He's the one that brings everything from non-existence to existence. Nothing else makes that possible. We have to have this understanding. Nothing else, nothing that you can fathom of everything that you know that is created or is in existence right now, they have no share in that. Allah brings things from non-existence to existence. Like I said, the society make you feel or make you see or try to delusion you that you don't need Allah for things that come into existence. We can create things. We create robots. We do this. We do that. We can keep the body, alive, for a longer time. You don't have to die. All these things. Allah is the one that's in control of that attribute of Allah that we need to be mindful of and hold, Al-Musawwir. Al-Musawwir. He's the one that forms His creation into however He wants them to be. If He wants you to be black, you want to be black. If He wants you to be a black female, He wants you to be a black female. If He wants you to be a certain height, a certain weight, just look a certain way, have a certain type of hair type. Allah's in control of that. Nobody's in control of that except Him. We need to hold on to this understanding. If you don't want to shake in your deen, If you don't want to be tested, for somebody to come to you and tell you about your Lord, other than that, you have to be firm in this. That's why Allah says in Quran, come into Islam wholeheartedly. Not one foot in the dunya and one. No, you have to come all the way in to benefit. You cannot benefit if your mind is wavering about who's Allah and how should I think of him and what is possible for him and what is impossible for him. You should already know these things. And if you don't know these things, you should be studying this so that when you go out into the world, all the freak stuff and all the freakish things that's going on in the world, it has no bearing on you or your soul. It won't make you waver. I want to mention a hadith. Before I go to the hadith, what inspired this show is this current situation that we're in right now, this pushing of this transgender, non-gender, gay agenda. This is the inspiration of that. Because if you look into that situation, if you look into those agendas, what they in fact is telling you that Allah made a mistake. When a male or female is born, Allah made a mistake when He gave that male a penis and that baby girl a vagina. That He made a mistake that they possess certain characteristics belonging to that sex that they were born with. Actually, they don't have a sex. And it's not up to the doctor to say it's a boy, it's a girl. It's up to that individual, that child, to grow up and determine what he or she is. This is what they're teaching. This is what the agenda. So they try to just scratch it out where you can't even have a birth certificate with agenda on it. You can't even do that. I heard this video of this, they want you to, this male, okay? He looked like a female. And he said that you cannot address us if you don't address us without these pronouns. I'd rather be called it. Until you acknowledge me as it, I'm not going to acknowledge you when you can't be in my circle. You know what I said in my head regards to that. But that's how they feel. If you can't approach them the way they want to be approached, they don't want to have anything to do with you. But at the same time, they're pushing this agenda with the bathrooms, like it's in your face, like they try to make you accept these things. And they're trying to make it where if you belong to any deen, not even just Islam, any deen, and you're against this, you're the antagonizer, not us. Because we're here. You just need to accept us. So in this show, we intend to show what Allah's intent when He created creation, male and females, the humans, and how we should perceive these people that are trying to push their own their beliefs and practices onto us, how we should perceive that. Also, I wanted to play a clip. I'll play a clip by, it was an interview done with Umar Johnson from Philadelphia. He's a school psychologist, and he's on this radio program. I'm not sure who this lady is, but he's on her show, and they were discussing Black Lives Matter and homosexuality, and what agenda is being pushed more. What's more important. And so he gave his piece in regards to what he felt about it, and the person, came and said their part. And I want us to dissect that and look at that, because I think it's very important, because this agenda is trying to get us to question our Islam, and it's trying to question Allah's, power and what He controls. It's trying to get us to question that and second guess that, and that's a no-no. That's the shaitan. There's a hadith that I would like to mention. It was on the authority of Wabisa ibn Ma'abad. May Allah be pleased with him. Who said, I came to the messenger of Allah. May Allah bless him and grant him peace. And he said, you have come to ask about righteousness. That's what the messenger of Allah asked. And the person said, yes. He said, consult your heart. Now he said, you asked about righteousness. And his answer to that was, consult your heart. He said, righteousness is that about which the soul feels tranquil and the heart feels, and the wrongdoing is that which wavers in the soul and moves to and fro in the breast, even though people again and again have given you their legal opinion, meaning they let you know, it's all right, do what you do. The Prophet, sallallahu told that person to consult your heart. You know if it's right or wrong. Those people that live the way they just choose to live, whether they want to live as a man or woman and want to be gay and stuff, they were hiding it for a time. You know why? Because it was in their soul. It was quaver. It was in their heart. Like, it's not right. I don't know if I want to come out. But because there's others that are soulless and they don't, the deen does not dictate them, they gave them the confidence to come out. But it's still in there. It's still wavering. The Prophet ﷺ, he does not lie. He does not lie. He's telling us, when it's a righteous thing that you're doing, you good. You straight. No matter what happens in regards to you, living right. Even if things go haywire, but you still making your salats. You still pray 5 times a day. You still fast in the month of Ramadan. You still pay your zakat. You still do what you're supposed to do, regardless of all the things that may be happening in your life. You might have lost your home. You might have lost your job. You still being a Muslim. Your heart is tranquil. It's with ease. It's like, it's all right. I know Allah got me. That is your stance. That's how you're going to be, that's how your whole persona is going to be. It's all right. Allah got me. It's nothing to worry about. But those who are living opposite of that, wrongdoing, and there could be any wrongdoing, and it's soul, it wavers. It's just like it won't settle. It's like, you feel anxious, like, I don't know, you just don't feel right. You can't be calm. You can't sit still because you just know it ain't right. And so, still in there. I don't care how much smiles you see on these people's faces. Their soul is wavering. Their soul is wavering because it ain't right. And so, don't feel any ways when somebody try to say that, oh, you think you better than me, or you think you think you more righteous than me, whatever. As long as you do what Allah is supposed to tell you, you just be, content with that. You have nothing to prove to anybody except Allah, because this is a test for us. He's looking at seeing how we're going to face these demons. He's seeing how we're going to react to it. Now, there is a hadith with the Prophet, he stated that when you see a wrong, you change it with your hands. And if you cannot do that, you change it with your tongue, meaning you speak about it. And if you cannot at least do that, change it with your heart. And that is the weakest of faith. So we need to stop saying that ain't got nothing to do with me. That does not concern me. I'm here to let you know that you are sadly mistaken. It has everything to do with you. If you got children, little cousins, nieces and nephews who are growing up, going to these schools, these public schools especially, they are being, they're force-fed this stuff. And guess what? It comes back into your home. And it's causing a rebellion because you may be teaching them one way, and in their mind, because they're taught to respect the teaching, whoever's in care of them for the day, or they have some other ideas. and they said this is right. So who's right? Who wins over? So this have everything to do with you, because the law is going to question you about that child, and about their education, and their upbringing. The law is going to question you about that. And these people, these transgenders, these LBGT, XYZ people, they want to reach the young. They're purposely teaching our young. They want to start off when they're in kindergarten, preschool, with this rainbow curriculum. And they want to embody this in them so that when they get older and start growing up at their young ages, that it's okay. Is this for or against your, what you believe in?
Assalamu
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh. You have something to add?
Yes.
Alhamdulillah.
It's extremely important that we have a deep, intimate connection with the Book of Allah, the Quran. And I mean that in every way, which way imaginable. In other words, we should, learn the themes that are in it, learn the tafsirs, learn the reasons why verses were revealed, learn how to recite it properly, study different, I already said tafsirs, but, some commentaries go deeper than others. Some commentaries come from a different angle. So even if you have one type of commentary or one type of tafsir, don't be content with that. Consult many tafsirs, and more of them are being translated in English. There are actually some good ones in English. So, it's not, how can I say, the language barrier is not really too much of a barrier with regard to developing this relationship with the Quran. But I say all that to say is, when you go to the story of Lut, the people of Lut, as it is mentioned in the Quran, in surahs like Surah Hud and other surahs, we learn, number one, that this whole homosexual reality they were the first ones to do it. The people of Lut, because Allah mentions that in the Quran. Do you approach, and even that was limited because it was only men going to men. It wasn't women to women. It didn't involve operations and all of these things. And because of that, Allah had destroyed them, and their destruction is clearly mentioned in the Quran. Basically, Allah uprooted this city and turned the two towns, Sodom and Gomorrah, literally upside down. Like you flip a pancake, the dirt and everything was flipped upside down, just like a pancake. And that wasn't good enough. Allah rained down hot stones upon them. But that's not the reason why I mention that. If you study how when the angels came to Prophet Lut's house to inform him of Allah's punishment that is about to come upon these people, you find that a few things take place. Number one, the Prophet Lut's wife informed the homosexuals or the people of Lut that these angels were at the house. So she wasn't a homosexual, she wasn't gay or lesbian, anything like that, but she had a soft spot in her heart for them. And because of that alone, Allah destroyed her. She wasn't an active homosexual, but because of her soft spot in her heart for them, Allah destroyed her right along with them. And even the Bible mentions that, but I think the narration is slightly different. But that's one point. Another point is that when the angels when the people came to the house of Lut and said, listen, hey, we know you got some men's up in there. We know you got some guests up in there. These are angels. in the form of men. Lut said, listen, you can have my daughters. And the scholars differ what he meant by daughters, whether it be his biological daughters or the women in his community. They said, nah. You know what we want. We don't want no women. We want the men you got up in there. And the deep thing about that is the homosexuals at the time of Lut weren't content with all of those who were already homosexuals. They didn't say, okay, let's make our own community so we can practice our lifestyle, in complete harmony amongst ourselves. No, they were always actively seeking recruits to their corrupt and foul lifestyle. And so that's why, they used those who were sympathetic, like Lut's wife, to try to come towards and approach the angels. And subhanAllah, it's the same thing today, if you're paying attention. Homosexuals are not content with people that are already homosexual, even though they say the opposite. They're lying. Their intent is to corrupt everybody, not only those who agree with them already. They're not satisfied with that. You couldn't, if you wanted to build a gated community of homosexuals, they wouldn't be satisfied with that. They will come outside the gate and try to get more people. And Allah teaches us this about them in the Quran, because they were the first people, they're the prototype, they're the archetype. And so if you want to understand their psychology, you have to go back to that story that's in the Quran. That's why the Quran is the infallible, uncorruptible book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why it has guidance from all kinds. If you understand it deeply, you will understand what you're dealing with. And I guarantee you, I hear people say, well, as long as they don't, come at me with that, I'm cool with them, or not all homosexuals want to make everybody homosexual. And no, their intent, consciously or subconsciously, is to corrupt everybody. This is why they're going after the children. This is why, they are purposely, once they get the legislation in place, they purposely go up in spaces where they know it's going to be conflict so that a court case can ensue. And, there are people that are doing their bidding, like President and all these other people, will, push their agenda further. So, and I just wanted to mention that they're never content with people who are already like them. They want to corrupt everybody. And this is illustrated in the Quran itself.
SubhanAllah. That's deep. That's deep. We have to remember the chief deceiver. The chief deceiver, Shaitan, to remind ourselves. Alhamdulillah, the month of Ramadan is, fastly approaching, and if you have not, had, made a relationship with your Quran, meaning you have read it the past year, make sure you read it during this month of Ramadan, because what you're going to find is those answers that you were looking for, as far as like how can you deal in this life. I go to work every day, and there are some people there that there's clearly against what I believe in. How do I work with them? How do I treat them? How would my position should be? And so, SubhanAllah, Shaitan says in Surah An-Nisa, ayats 118 to 120. Starting with this one. Shaitan made some promises to Allah. He made 4 promises. Promises that he made Allah is that I'm going to take a portion of your servants and mislead them. Just like what the Imam just mentioned, that they're not just satisfied with them amongst themselves. They look to. So the Shaitan says, he's not satisfied with those people that's already following him. Talking about Shaitan. I'm not satisfied. I'm going to take some of your servants. Here it is. He says, I'm going to take some of your servants and mislead them. So we always should be on guard. The Shaitan is an open enemy, a dual mubin. He's our open enemy. He is not cool with us. He is not cool with us. He hates us. He hates us even more when we do what we're supposed to do. He hates us when a husband and wife get together to have relations to procreate. He hates us when we make that dua. He hates us when we make that dua before we go into the bathroom. We got all these duas. These are our weapons against him. He hates us because we always picking up and ready to, let off, when the time, it's needed. He hated when we say Bismillah before we eat our food or Bismillah before we embark on a situation. He hates us. So here it is. The shaitan made some promises to Allah. And he's telling him, I'm going to take some of your servants and mislead them. So you may be on the path, but just know that at any time you could be taken off that path. Anytime you could be taken off that path. That's why we should make dua to Allah that He make us die as Muslims. Every one of us is going to taste death. Every one of us. But once we taste it, let us be Muslim when we taste death. So the shaitan said, I'm going to get some of your people. They say they're on the path, but I'm going to mislead them. Because there's something in them that's wavering in their souls. Because we all sin. We all sin. We all got some kind of, sicknesses in us. We got some kind of lowly things about us. And that shaitan, he knows what it is. So he entices us with those things. So here he says he's going to mislead us, right? The other thing that he said he's going to do, he says he's going to command them to change Allah's creation. He's going to command the ones that follow him to change the creation. What does that mean? That means to alter what it is that Allah intends for a thing to be. If He intended you to be a man with a penis, and you said, you know what, I don't want this penis no more, I want a vagina, that's tampering with Allah's creation. If you're a woman and you got a vagina, and you're like, nope, I don't want this vagina, I'm not even a woman. Matter of fact, I want me a ding-a-ling. That's tampering with the Allah's creation. This is right here in our book, the book that we claim to follow. So like I said, we going around here in this world, and we're just like, what do I do? What my position should be? What should I say or anything like that? Now, a lot of us, we have family members that assume these roles. We have family members, boys in our families that want to be with other boys, girls that want to be with other girls, boys that want to look like a woman, want to change his whole look, as well as the females. We have these people in our family, so this is a very touchy issue. This is a very touchy issue. Wa alaikum salam to barakatuh.
You have somebody with a comment or a question?
Alhamdulillah. 1 second. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum. You on the air. You have a comment or question?
Walaikum salam. Is it 646?
Yes, ma'am.
SubhanAllah. I don't have a question, but I do have a statement. I just wanted to say, SubhanAllah, I just wanted to actually thank you guys for always being reminders for me, for myself, and for my family. That's the first one. And it's so funny that you guys mentioned the story of Lut. I remember one morning after Fajr, I suggested to my husband, like, okay, I'm not going to go back to sleep. Can we just read some Quran? And he's like, all right, open something. Whatever it is that you land on, that's what we're going to read. And it happened to be with the story of Lut. And that it always, SubhanAllah, it always makes me cry because I fear, and I just want y'all to make dua for me. I fear that is me. I don't know why, but I always fear that is me, that I'm going to be, I don't agree with it, but I'm going to have sympathy for it, so I'm going to be destroyed with them. And I just want y'all to make dua for me, because every time I hear that, and you guys mentioned it tonight, the story of Lut's wife, how she was destroyed with them. I just always cry when I hear that story, and that's one among many stories I cry about in the Quran. And I just want you guys to make dua for me, and I just want to commend you all, for you two specifically, for being reminders for me and my family. That's it. No questions.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair. MashaAllah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, this is subhanallah. She just reminded me about what the Prophet said about the women, that we're going to be the inhabitants. We're going to be the most of the inhabitants is going to be women. And subhanallah, I'm a woman. So if you're a woman, you have a high chance of being in the hellfire. But we got to, change that. We got to change those odds and do what Allah tells us to do. But one thing I wanted to mention before I play this clip is that even though these people live their lives, they always can be called back to Allah. We always can call them back to Allah. Don't think it's not impossible. There's nothing impossible in that. At least you tried. But that hadith said, change it with your hands or change it with your tongue. You speak out on it. You bring them back. That's if you love them, if you care about them, you're going to call them back. If they don't listen, oh well, you did your job. Just like the Prophet ﷺ. His job was not to make everybody Muslim. His job was to deliver the message that Allah said. That was it. That was it. Allah didn't put that burden on him, and he did not put that burden on us. The only burden that we have is that we have to propagate this deen. We got to show how beautiful it is. We got to show that it's not a burden, not a oppressive, way to live. Even though everybody else outside of it make it that way, and we may be showing it that way, we got to give it a better face. That's our responsibility. Who would want to come into a deen that is oppressive and it's not uplifting the women and it's giving people rights? Who would want to come into that? So we have a responsibility as individuals. So it's more than just this, transgender, homosexuality agenda. It's about how are we propagating this thing to the people? Because the Prophet ﷺ was sent to mankind. He wasn't sent just to the Arabs. He wasn't just sent to a certain people. He was sent to everybody. And we got to be mindful of that. So we may have people in our families that may want to live a certain way. You can still love them. You love the person, not the sin. You hate the sin, not the person. And you talk to them and bring them back. But I want to play this clip. And it's interesting the direction or the point of view that this brother tried to make. It is a lot of, going back and forth, but I hope that you can at least listen to it and then we can dissect it and, have a little discussion about it before we close out. So let me play it.
Still on the prison, because now this is where it's about to get ugly. I know your thoughts on homosexuality. I've listened to a lot of your.
What they got to do with the school to prison pipeline?
Because it has a whole lot.
She threw homosexuality into the school to prison pipeline. Damn, you good. It has
a whole lot, because look at what a lot of these men that's in prison go through with being raped, with being tainted. Some of them go in already knowing that, and some of them come out not knowing what it was until they went in. Now, my question to you is, knowing how your feelings on homosexuality is, and knowing what some of these men have gone through, and with you wanting to open a school for some of these children that are quote unquote homosexual, will they be allowed into the schools that you're going to open?
First, let me back up. Because I don't want anybody.
Don't back up yet. Answer the question first.
I am,
then
but
back
hold.
No.
You said that you know my position on homosexuality.
Yes,
I don't know whether you do or not, but I know your listeners don't. So I'm going to take 10 seconds to clarify it.
Clarify
Dr. Umar Johnson does not support, condone, nor endorse lesbianism, bisexualism, transvestism, all the isms I'm against.
Okay.
However, I can separate the behavior from the human being practicing it. You talking to a therapist. I've done therapy with homosexuals. I don't hate gay people. I love all black people regardless
does that answer my question?
No, listen. I love all black people regardless of their illness. Yes, I'm against homosexuality, but I'm not against the person who practices it, because all black homosexuality, lesbianism, transvestism, bisexualism comes out of trauma and abuse and dysfunctionality. How can I hate a victim?
Okay. So will they be allowed?
That answer your question? Sure, they can come to my school.
Thank you.
Because there ain't no such thing as gay black kids. There's sexually confused black children, and FDMG will reverse the confusion.
Y'all not going to be gay no more.
No, you're missing me. They not gay to begin with. It's propagated. It's propagated. It's pushed on them. I'm school-based. You're talking to a principal and a psychologist.
Wait. How do you feel it's school-based?
Oh, so you're not aware that most, especially in New York City, okay, and Los Angeles and other places, homosexuality has been infused into the social studies curriculum in nearly every state department of education. Every child gets some exposure to homosexual belief and thought.
Yes.
As of now, it's a part of the culture.
Now,
yes, it's in hip hop, it's TV, it's radio. Children today, unlike when I was growing up, they are exposed to it. It is propagated.
Go back to hip hop. Tell me, how is it hip hop?
Well, you got gay rappers.
Okay.
You got rappers dressing up like women. Most major rappers have endorsed or approved of LBGTism, even if they don't participate.
Okay.
Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think they all really believe it, but they understand that that is the new social movement, and to go against it can cost you your career.
Correct.
You understand? So listen, when I was going to school, you didn't get gay lessons. When I was going to school, there was no gay student organization. When I was going to school, you didn't have teachers running around talking about they was openly gay. Okay, you didn't have a president, Obama, running around giving gay people more rights in 4 years than black people got in 400.
But
it is the number one social movement in America, and it is more important than black people.
You act like you're upset he did that.
You damn right I'm upset.
Why?
Gay people didn't build America. Black people built America.
Okay, black people built America.
That's right. Being gay and being black is not the same thing. I'm born this. I don't behave this. I be this. Homosexuality is a behavior. Being black is a state of being. Don't confuse who I am with what you do.
No one's confusing anything. But what I'm saying is this. They're still human like you.
They can be human.
Well, let's take away all gender roles and all labels.
He didn't give them human rights. He gave them gay rights. He didn't give them human rights.
But they're still human. It's still a right.
He didn't give them human rights. Do you know what Obama did? He put the homosexual agenda above the black agenda. Being gay is more important than Michael Brown being murdered. Being gay is more important than Trayvon being murdered. Being gay is more important than your son getting a decent... Oh, yes, it is.
No, because guess what?
Homosexuality is the number one social movement under white supremacy.
It is the number one social movement, but what happened when you had those homosexuals and those transvestites that were getting killed that were black? Were their lives no better than Michael Brown or Trayvon Martin? They're still the same. No, I'm missing
something.
I'm not missing
killed for being gay, they was killed for being black. Do you realize that white homosexuals
they were killed for their sexuality. They were killed for their sexuality. Let's not confuse the two. Let's not confuse the two.
No, you're confusing.
I'm not confusing it.
Race and sex is different.
No, race and sex is different. But guess what? They were still black. They were still black.
You're going to point. They wasn't killed for being gay. They was killed for being black. You're going to point out a couple. Listen to you now.
Listen to me. No, listen to you.
Listen.
How is that ridiculous?
Listen, I'm about to give it to you. Black people, there's a black person shot by a police every 7 minutes in the United States of America. But instead of dealing with a systematic nationwide movement to kill off black boys, you want to redirect my attention to a couple of gay black folks who may have been shot for being gay, when we got a systematic movement that is ridding the world of black folks.
It was a systematic movement when it came to the LGBT community.
You are not going to make the homosexual movement as important as black life.
I'm not
You're
saying I'm making it more important. What I'm saying is black lives matter, all lives matter, right or wrong.
No.
Why?
Listen.
Why?
If you want to fight for other people, you fight for other people. I'm not crying no tears except for black people. No tears except for.
Okay, I'm gonna shed a tear.
I ain't crying for Latinos. I ain't crying for Arabs. I ain't crying for Jews. It is my people who hurt me. Don't get me to go fight some gay fight.
Guess
your
what?
People in trouble, and you want to fight the gay fight.
But your people, some of your African people are gay.
For being black first.
They suffer from being black, but
first.
Okay, they're still black.
I'm not going to condone.
They're still black.
I'm not going to condone.
They're still black.
But you are missing the point.
I'm not missing the point.
The issue that we face is racism, not discrimination based on sexuality. That is not the priority. Staying alive is the priority for black people, not being gay.
But guess what? Regardless if they're gay or they're straight, they're still losing their lives as black people. So why is it?
I just said that. Black people are under attack, but you want to piece out the gay thing.
I'm not piecing out the gay thing. I'm trying to say to you that regardless of the fact of not.
The homosexual movement, my sister, was put in front of the black agenda. In 1969 with the gay riots, right after Dr. King's assassination, on purpose to take the black agenda off the table and replace it with something else.
I don't think the black agenda came off. I don't think the black agenda came off. I don't think the black agenda came off. I don't think the black agenda came off.
Really?
No.
Who's pushing a black agenda then? Who pushing a black agenda? Because everybody I know pushing homosexuality.
No.
Obama didn't push it. Hillary
what everybody is doing now is they're free to be open and be who they are.
Your listeners. Ain't no homosexual thing more important than black people. Quote it, put it on the shirt, damn it. Nobody come before my people. I don't want to talk about
no guess what?
I don't know if you're talking, but we can't hear you.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. I was talking. I had muted myself.
Man,
Alhamdulillah.
I was telling the brother, you said you got me hyped listening to this.
What you say?
I'm hyped.
You hyped?
Yeah.
I wanted, when I heard that clip a couple weeks ago, I said, subhanAllah, this is someone that's expressing, my thoughts. Not all of them, but my thoughts in regards to this situation. Now, I'm just going to put it out there from my observation.
You got to call us.
Have you noticed? Huh?
I don't know if you got a caller.
Got a caller? Okay, let's bring them on. 215-840. Assalamu alaikum. You have a comment or question?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah to you both. This is Sister Nabila from Philadelphia.
Alhamdulillah. Welcome.
That was a heck of a clip. I heard part of it before, but I never heard, as far into it as you played it. The female is very, very, very offensive. And I shared a post on Facebook with Dr. Claude Anderson, and your husband checked that he liked it. But all it said, all the clip said was the black agenda and the LGBT agenda are not equal. Don't equate them together. So now the gay people are responding to me and attacking me because I wrote "Praise the Lord," where I could have said Allahu Akbar, or I could have said whatever I feel like saying, because that's the truth, And what Dr. Johnson was talking about is the truth, that this system will do anything to deny African descendants their rights. anything. So if it means throwing up the gays and they add more letters, the longer the situation goes on, start out just with gay, then LG, then B, Q, I, they keep adding letters because they just refuse to accept the fact that our rights have priority. I mean, as African descendants, our rights have priority over all this other nonsense, all these immigrants and whoever else that come here and benefit off the struggles and labors of unpaid labors of African people. So, you got a religious side to it, but you also have a historical side to the struggle.
Right.
And that woman was just so very offensive, but I want to thank you for making us hear it, and seeing how stubborn these folks are.
Mashallah. Mashallah. Appreciate it. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I'm looking at her wall right now. People jump through some intellectual hula hoops just to try to, justify their position. She said, "Praise the Lord." Somebody said, "There's no consequence to the comparison, so why get worked up?" Most blacks don't know about gay men being beaten, extorted, and killed by cops. Never heard of the Stonewall riot? Blacks must learn empathy for others. SubhanAllah. I just spoke about that on my Facebook wall before. People always want the victim to feel empathy for everybody else. Ain't nobody feel no empathy for people.
No.
I mean, that's the modern psychosis. You poor victim, you poor oppressed person, you need to feel sympathy and empathy for the one who's oppressing you and everybody else. No, I'm at the bottom. When somebody calls feel empathy, it's sympathy for me.
Right. Exactly. And that woman on that show was that wife of Lut. That was the wife of Lut. Because you see how she kept pushing. Well, there's black people that are gay. That's not the point that he was making. Yes, they are. They may be black. But what about the black condition, their situation? That's what we're talking about. And she kept putting that out there as if that was more important. And it's like there's other things that needs to be addressed first before we go there. We don't even know if that's the case that you're trying to push out there. You don't have no evidence. The evidence is all, and it's sad. The evidence now, you have all these videos. There weren't videos before, but now we live in a time of technology. You see the outright oppression. You understand? You can see it, and still nothing is being done. And yet they try to link up. And now let me remind the listeners. This Black Lives Matter movement. This Black Lives Matter movement was started by some gay, feminist women. Okay? I forgot what color they were.
That white man. I forgot his name. He's the one who promoted the hashtag and everything. If I try to create a hashtag and it gets jumping right now and then people don't agree with it, Facebook will take it down.
Yep. So
a lot of people
you got to find out.
Social media is not, everybody's on an equal footing. No, there's people that will block you. Then you will get your Facebook account suspended or what have you if you post something that they don't like. I'll give you one example that I'm talking about. Like, the guy Tariq Nasheed that does the Hidden Colors. Well, Hidden Colors 4 just screened in about 25 some odd movie theaters throughout the United States and the UK last Thursday.
Right.
And this is basically he's funding it. The people that support him funding it. He did a Kickstarter program and everything. So it's not supported by quote unquote the establishment. Do you know that they shut down his Facebook page and suspended his Facebook account like a day or two before the movie was to come out, before he can promote it? And you know what excuse they used? He was
what?
A post he made about white supremacy like a year ago.
Wow.
I mean, so a lot of people think, oh, it's so equal. Nah. You
No,
know,
it's not.
some people, did you ever notice that some people you cannot friend request? Some people you can. I mean, it's not. They try to be subtle with it, but it is not subtle. Some people, you know, they say, you know, send us a copy of your driver's license, and we'll let you have access to your Facebook account. This is all types of crazy stuff.
So SubhanAllah.
So it's not, you know, all equal, and you know, but I lost my train of thought. But go ahead,
MashaAllah. Well, let me mention this. Going back to that ayat in Surah An-Nisa, where the shaitan says he's going to command them to change Allah's creation, right? So that right there in itself, the proof that Allah intended males to be males and females to be females. It seems like it's simple like that. But if you look at the culture now, as he mentioned, the culture that they pushing is that it's however you feel like. Whatever I feel like today, like they got these bathrooms. And if I'm a man and there's a female bathroom, well, I feel like a female today, I'm going to go in there and act, you know, I feel like, you know, whatever I feel like. And this is what they try to get us to, you know, dig inside our lowly selves, our animalistic selves, and dredge that out and make that the thing that guide us, that be our compass. But Islam is our compass. All the solutions to our problems. Even if our identities, you got to question your identity, open the book. Read the Sirah of the Prophet ﷺ. You understand? And like Dr. Umar Johnson mentioned, he mentioned that homosexuality is not something that you were born with. It was something that was put on you. You might have been abused, traumatized. It's pushed on you through television, through hip-hop, especially the hip-hop. The hip-hop generation is so different than when it started. You understand? Back in the day, there was no such thing as a gay rapper. It was, you know, the men were manly, the females was females. You understand? And they talked about each other. You know what I'm saying? Get with each other, not a dude trying to get with a dude or anything like that. Now you got these dudes, and I don't even listen to the mess. I don't even know their names, but I do see their pictures. And you got dudes with mini skirts and wearing all kinds of girly stuff. Like, what kind of mess is that? And our children are looking at it, talking like, that's cool. If you remember the Boondocks episode, the little one had on a skirt. Remember, he had on a little outfit because that was the thing to do, to be cool. Right. And that's what our children are emulating. That's why it should concern you. It should concern us. This is your problem. It's everybody's problem if you don't address it. If you don't address it, they want you to have that attitude that it's not your problem. Just go with the flow. SubhanAllah. I have family members that are gay, and they're males, handsome as ever, and it saddens me. But I have to speak up against it. I hate what they're doing. I don't hate them. I hate what they're doing, and that's what he's saying. You know, Umar Johnson was saying, you know, I love my black people. I don't condone that other mess that they're doing, because that's a behavior. I don't condone the behavior. You know, you love the human being. That's why it's always a way for them to come back. It's not all is lost. They want you to think it's all is lost. There's a solution to that. What you was about to say?
Man, you was on one. I felt guilty. I tried to get in like 3 times. You just gonna take it on, huh?
Oh, we got a caller? You talking about this caller right here? Okay.
No, hold on.
Well, we got one caller.
No, the other caller pressed 1 twice. The sister pressed 1 twice again. Anyway.
All right, 412-219. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Walaikum salam.
Walaikum salam.
What I wanted to say was not a question, but Dr. Umar Johnson will be in Pittsburgh on June 5th at 2 o'clock at the Pittsburgh Coliseum in Homewood. So I think the event is free, and he'll be promoting sales of his new book. I just want to let the listeners know that he will be in town.
Oh, okay. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum.
He's going to be back. Alhamdulillah. I didn't get to hear him last time. Maybe I'll go this time, inshallah. Inshallah. Got another caller?
Man, sister, you so worked up. I wasn't even ready to get to the callers yet. I wanted to say something. You ain't hear all that. You just.
What did you have to say, brother?
There's another caller. It's 646.
Assalamu alaikum. You have a comment or question? You have another comment or question, sis?
I do. I was agreeing with Dr. Umar that you weren't born like that, and I was hoping you didn't say my area code, but anyway, alhamdulillah. I'm gonna get a little personal. With you. Way back in the day, before I was Muslim or whatever, I was a lesbian. I was not born with that like that. There was no trauma. There was no abuse or anything. However, it was, for me, it was trending. You know, here's my mom, a strict Christian, and no, you can't have no boyfriends. Save yourself for marriage. Oh, I can't have no boyfriends. This is trending right now. You know, hip hop, of course, TV, and my peers who were doing it. It was like, okay, well, this is cool. And even though I identified as that, I always felt, because I don't know any religion that's okay with that. Ours or anyone else, I don't know any religion that's okay with that. Even though I identified as that, I was never an advocate for it, if you can understand what I'm saying. Like my friends used to say, hey, let's go down to 161st Supreme Court and march on the steps for gay rights. And I'm like, no, that's not cool. I'm a Christian. And no, we're not supposed to be. I never, and it was like a secret for me. And like I knew it was wrong. I knew it was wrong, but I still did it. But for me, it was like, it was as far as he was saying. Yes, it's hip hop. Yes, it's whatever. I think for the kids nowadays, it was trending. Because back in the 90s, I was still a teenager, and guess what they made in New York? This school for teenagers. It's called the Harvey Milk School or something. And it was for young kids who identified as lesbian, gay, transgender, or whatever, to go there. And I was like, how do you promote children? How do you promote that for children? Like, I just wouldn't. I don't agree that two of the same sex should have children. I have very personal views on it. I'm not going to go into that. But I just think that it's also what's trending, and I don't think that gay rights equate to black rights at all. So I agree with Dr. Umar on this whole clip.
MashaAllah. I appreciate your honesty and your personal recollection. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
That was that Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz Malcolm X minhaj that she just pulled on you. So you don't even peep that.
What are you talking about?
See, back in, I think it was 1959, Ronald Stokes, who was a member of the Nation of Islam, was killed in Los Angeles by the police. So there's a famous lecture where Malcolm was trying to garner the support of the black community in general to support the Nation of Islam in seeking justice for Ronald Stokes, who was killed by the police. And the propaganda at the time was that the Nation of Islam is just a bunch of criminals. So, you ain't got to worry about them. And so that's when Malcolm made he gave his speech, but he made that famous point. He said, he said, I used to be a criminal, Formerly being a criminal, that's no crime. To remain a criminal, that's the crime. And then that's when he made that say. He said, I've been to jail. Martin Luther King has been to jail. James Farmer's been to jail. You can't hit me with that stick.
Yeah, you can't hit me with that stick or something. He was saying, you can't hit me with that stick or something. Right. You can't use that against me because people like to do that.
Yeah, the sister went personal. And, that was before Islam. Islam does away with all that came before. You can't bring that turn up against me.
That's right. Can't bring that against me. MashaAllah.
That's why, a lot of times I mention that, I've been to prison before because people like to put everybody all in one boat. And, like, I've been told before that, I know you ain't never been to prison before, but them brothers have been to prison, boy. You got to watch them and stuff. And I'm sitting there laughing. I'm like, man, I could be out in jail. Like it's out there. C-76. What are you talking about?
The panel out. I wanted to, we said we wasn't going to go too long. I want to kind of wrap this up. The last point that I want to make, in which he made, in which we have to remember, he said to go against it, you may lose your career. That's nothing. You don't want to lose your Islam not going against it. Your Islam is all you have, believe it or not. Your Islam is all you have. That's all you have to take you to the grave.
I need to stop there because I don't want you to close out without me making a point.
I wasn't going to let you say, but that was my last point. Mashallah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the last point, try to wrap up what we're trying to present, is that your Islam is all you have. To talk against it, you may lose your job. Like if you're in certain situations where you work with people, you can't, say something, you get reprimanded, you may get suspended, you may get fired and all that. And you have fear of that because that's connected to your livelihood. Oh, I can't say nothing because, I'm not going to be able to pay my rent, whatever. That's the least of your worries. You don't want to lose your deen and die in that state. So you have to say something, at least hate it in your heart. And I'm not saying walk around and treat them all, all kinds of ways or whatever. That's not what I'm saying, because you want to welcome them, okay? You can't attract bees with, vinegar. You attract them with honey, right? So, you'll be cordial with them, but you don't have to like or accept what they do. And that's what they try to put in our heads. And you have even Muslims saying you have to accept that. And that's not correct, because Allah does not accept it. Yet it's something that he allowed to happen. It is his qadr that these people live the way they do. Things happen in the world. Situations happen. It's by Allah's will. Yes, he allows it to happen, yet he does not condone it. There's a difference. He has power over all things. If he did not want it to happen, it don't have to happen because he didn't want it to happen. He's allowing it to happen. So guess what? We have to take a position that he's pleased with. So it goes back to the qadr of Allah. And it goes back to Allah didn't make mistakes.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. One thing that a lot of people don't recognize, and you always have to be careful about what bandwagon you jump on. Because this whole gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual, and whatever else terminology accompanies that. See, Shaitan is a sneaky dude. Shaitan been around for a long time. He's been around before the human race. So there's nothing slow about him. If you examine most sins that are prevalent right now, they are sinful on multiple levels. Like we're talking about the homosexual agenda. That's just the top level. Shaitan is not content with that. These people that are pushing the homosexual agenda, see, when they lead you astray, they try to make pseudo-science, pseudo-religion. They try to make every facet of society support their corruption. So they have the pseudo-fake science that says that they were born like this. And then on top of that, they say, some of them say, that God made a mistake when he created me. I was born in a woman's body, but I'm a man, or vice versa. See, when you agree with it, you're not just, it's not a cake. You can just, cut what slice you want and leave. No, you got to take the whole thing. If you support that agenda, you support what they're saying to support that agenda. That people are born like that Allah made a mistake, like Allah didn't know what he was doing, and he created me, got it all mixed up. You know, I'm really a woman, but he put me in a man's body, so I'm going to use science to correct the mistake that God made. This is the way they talk. So there's an aqidah that comes along with it. There's a belief system that goes along with it. So I wanted to make that point. A lot of people think, you know, it's just the act, the deviant sexual act that's in question here. No, it goes deeper than that. And it shows how shallow we are to think that Shaitan is that shallow. He goes way deeper than that. And also, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Kulu ma'ludin yuladu ala al-fitra, fa'abawahu yuhawidanihi, aw yunasiranihi, aw yumajisanihi." He said that every child is born upon the fitra, or based upon a natural disposition, based upon what's natural. It is his parents that make him a Jew, Christian, or fire worshiper. This hadith is so important because, number one, Allah created you a certain way, fitra. And then Allah, He inserts an atif, a conjunction between that part of the statement and the next part. The Prophet ﷺ, he inserts the word fa, which is a conjunction similar to the word and, A-N-D, but in this case, it means so therefore or because of, or what they call this fa asababiyya, or causative fa, meaning that the cause of something is based upon what I'm about to mention now. So, in other words, Allah created everybody natural, but it's the parents that cause the child to leave the fitra, to exit what's natural, and to make the child a Jew, Christian, or fire worshiper, right? And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he made what's called istifham al-inkar. He made like a rhetorical question. Do you see an animal when it's born that is mutilated? The answer is obvious. No, the animal is not born mutilated. The animal is born natural. So it's the parents, it's the caregivers, it's those people who are in the child's life early on that make the child deviate from what is natural. This is why, if back to this subject matter, if you question, if you interview, and they were to be honest, most people who are having these issues, these gender issues, these sex issues, if you go back to their childhood, as you mentioned earlier, there was some abuse or there was some molestation took place, and if that's not the case, they were inundated with so much corrupt information. And people forget, the corrupt information has been going on for a long time. I mean, even with Sesame Street, Ernie and Bert, two dudes living together. I mean, it goes for a long time. Bugs Bunny was gay. In a second, I used to like Bugs. This dude always kissing other dudes in the mouth. So it's been subtle for a long time. They're just getting more and more open with it. And even if there was no abuse or no blatant trauma present, maybe the little girl grew up seeing all the men in her mother's life being disrespectful, being abusive, being neglectful, and she had enough subconscious that I don't want to deal with a man. If this is what dealing with a man is like, I don't want no parts of that, or vice versa. Or a boy, or a little boy growing up seeing the father absent, no father at all, no masculine energy, or he's seeing everybody running through the mother. Every day, mommy you got a new uncle in the house. Ain't no uncle. It's just all these people sleeping with your mother. You don't know how the child is going to interpret that, because you could take 10 children living in the same house, experiencing the same trauma, and each and every one of them will react or manifest that trauma differently. But this particular child can say, listen, women are foul. Look how my own mother was. She just did everybody. I don't have nothing to do with a woman. So it could be a lot of things. you know, and you know, seriously dysfunctional family, on top of the fact that it's being pushed subtly, like before, or blatantly now in the school system through the media and everything else. So, and the point is, it's being done to the young. They're targeting the youth. This is why all the news is dealing with the schools, because that's where the target is. The target ain't really you or me. If they are successful in corrupting as old as you or me, that's just a plus. But we're not the target. The target is the children. Even Hitler said that. Even Hitler said that. And a lot of people, and I know this is, I digress for a minute, but a lot of the scientists and I'm going to make up the word, the scientification of what Hitler was doing, it didn't start in Germany. A lot of it started right here, and Hitler took it on. So, but that's another fact. So I just wanted to mention those points, inshallah, before we close, inshallah.
MashaAllah. So, inshallah, I pray that this show is beneficial to everyone to reinforce, you know, their belief system, you know, and know that righteousness is the way to go, the way to live, or try to strive. Nobody is perfect, but trying to practice your dreams is the only way that you're going to be able to navigate this thing, you know, called life. So with that being said, do you have any closing remarks before we close out, Brother Imam?
No, ma'am.
MashaAllah. So again, we'll be searching the moon on Sunday, coming up on the 5th, to see when the start date of Ramadan for our community. And this is holding to the sunnah of sighting the moon by the eyeballs and no calculations. And this is no pot shot or anything to any other communities that may have, you know, that may differ. I'm just telling you what the community of Masjid al-Mu'min practice. MashaAllah. May Allah have mercy on us and them. Ameen. So with that being said, subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk wal asra innal insana lafi khusra illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihati wa tawassaw bil haqqi wa tawassaw bis sabr. Shukran. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Alhamdulillah, and may Allah have mercy on you, and may Allah bless you with a blessed Ramadan, and please keep us in your du'as, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum. We're on Throwback. Assalamu alaikum. We are now listening to Nusmi Radio. We're on Nusmi Radio.
Bismillah.
محمد